What's goody? It's your host Jay Rose as always, and the T-Wolves have just upset the Denver Nuggets, coming back in a game 7 down 20 at half to win it and go to the Western Conference Finals to go meet the Dallas Mavericks. That was a very, very fire and interesting series, and I can't wait to break that down. Let's get into it. Over 90% of the people that watch my content are not subscribed, so if you're messing with the videos, please hit that sub button and the noti bell so you'll get notified every time I upload. But let's get back to the hoops. This is what the bracket looking like, man. This is what the bracket is looking like. The semis are over. The Mavericks eke out a win against the Thunder to the conference finals in 6. Timberwolves, very, very close series, went down to the wire with the Nuggets. Game 7. They go to the conference finals. The Celtics disposed of the Cavs pretty easily. And in a nail-biting, very gritty series, the Knicks just did not have enough health to get it done against the Pacers. And the Pacers are going up in the conference finals. These are your set matchups. But today is about the Timberwolves. So we want to go talk about that series. And honestly, in Game 7, that was crazy to watch. It was very concerning seeing how far the Nuggets were up by halftime. And honestly, I didn't think the Timberwolves were going to win that game. It definitely looked like the Nuggets were routing them, and something just flipped in the third quarter. Honestly, if you go and check these stats, you can see that Anthony Edwards had a pretty bad game. 6 for 24, 16 points. Well, offensively, at least, he did a lot of other things. You can clearly see that he led the team in assists, so he did a lot of the playmaking. He got 8 boards himself, and that's very important when you look at Jokic, who grabbed 19 boards by himself. So the team rebounding was very essential. He contributed to that very, very well. His shooting splits are terrible, though. His shooting splits are terrible, and I feel like in the third quarter is really when he started to turn it up. He got a lot of key steals, a lot of fast break buckets, and that's where he got most of his points from, honestly. And they needed that third quarter surge. They outscored the Nuggets like 23 points, I believe, in the third quarter. It was really bad. What a comeback! Honestly, what a comeback! I didn't think the T-Wolves had a chance after watching how that first half went and looking at this box score. In a game where Jamal Murray can give you 35, even though 24 of the 35, or yeah, I believe 24 of the 35 or 21 of the 35 were in the first half. So he clearly cooled off in the second half. The shooting percentage cooled off. He was very efficient before that. Still around 50%, but you know, I mean, he was definitely having a much better game before the second half started. They started to cut down on him. They put Anthony Edwards on him, and I think that made a really big difference. We have Jokic 34 and 19, couldn't hit the 3 ball. And not as efficient as we'd like for a Jokic game, but that's absolutely not why they lost. These two combined gave them 70 of their 90 points. So, I mean, there's not really much else to say there. This is a game where if the role players show up, you can very easily win this game. A guy like Mike Porter Jr., who's here to shoot, did not hit any shots last night, going 3 for 12, 1 for 6 from 3. Aaron Gordon barely had an impact offensively, 2 for 5. He just wasn't really doing much. Caldwell Pope, another guy who's supposed to be hitting open shots, 1 for 4. Christian Brown didn't give them much off the bench, and Reggie Jackson and Justin Holiday barely played. This is a game where the team that's very predicated on their bench players and their role players didn't show up. Their stars showed up to the T. They definitely met it tonight. And offensively, this just wasn't a good game for either team. If we look at the T-Wolves, 29% from 3, 39% from the field. That's not good splits. 41% from the field and 24% from 3 for the Nuggets. Those are not good splits. Over here, we can see that Jaden McDaniels had a really decent game, but like I said, super bad shooting game from Anthony Edwards. Nickeil Alexander-Walker didn't hit a shot. Mike Conley went 3 for 10, but he did go 3 for 5 from 3. So at least the 3 shots he hit were 3s. Cat didn't hit any 3s tonight. It was just a really bad shooting night overall. As you can see from the end score, it's 98-90. So this was definitely a defensive bout. I'm very impressed with what the T-Wolves did in this series, especially being able to beat the Nuggets on their home floor 3 times. I think that's very, very impressive. I think the series could have been a lot easier for them if they were just to win one of those first 2 games at home. The fact that they let the Nuggets go up 3-2 on them after winning 2 games straight was very concerning, and I didn't think they were going to come back from that. So that really does show the resolve of this team, because for you to really be this close, the Nuggets had 2 closeout games and they lost both of them. That's crazy. Shout out Anthony Edwards for that game 6. He went absolutely stupid. He dogged the Nuggets. Tonight, it was more of a concerted team effort. They put it all out on the floor tonight. Gave a full effort even when they saw that they were down 20, and I respect that, because in the playoffs, I feel like if you're down in the playoffs, put it all out there anyways. You have nothing to lose. If you lose tonight, at least lose tonight knowing you put it out on the floor. And if you put it all out there and your team is good enough, You have a chance to come back, and we saw that tonight like the Timberwolves did. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like that's not an anomaly, though. I'm going to read y'all some stats off of here. We got the largest halftime deficit overcome to win a Game 7 in NBA history, which was 15 points. We have the largest comeback win in a Game 7 in the last 25 postseasons, which was 20 points. And we have the largest comeback win in a playoffs in franchise history. The Wolves had a 3% chance of winning that third quarter, and they beat the Nuggets by 20 points in the third quarter. So that's just very, very impressive stuff from the T-Wolves to come back and get that victory like the way they did. They now have a matchup against the Mavericks next series, and I think that both of these teams match up very well against each other in different ways. Personally, I think the Timberwolves matched up with the Nuggets probably better than any other team in the NBA. This triple big man thing that they got going on with Gobert, Cat, and then you have Naz Reid, who's very, very good. That is a starting level center coming off the bench, and that just matched up very well. You need a lot of bodies to throw at Jokic. You need a lot of defense for the perimeter guys as well, and they have all of that. I do think in the series versus the Mavericks, it's going to be a little interesting because our centers are not our focal points. We have good centers, and they're definitely energy pieces. They can definitely get you a lot of big blocks, dunks, all of that, but they're not our focal points. So Rudy Gobert is not really going to be as much of a super factor in one-on-one situations, and when he is, it's going to be on the perimeter. We're going to force a lot of perimeter switches. I can definitely see Gobert and Towns having to guard Kyrie and Luka constantly. I know those switches are coming. They also have guys like Anthony Edwards, Mike Conley, and Jaden McDaniels, who are super great perimeter defenders. So we're going to see how that goes. I think these two teams are very, very interesting. This is a great matchup. Luka versus Ant Edwards is going to be awesome. 100%. Also, shout out Ant Edwards again, because just throughout this entire playoff run, I said that, well, this was when Karl Anthony Towns tore his knee and then came back miraculously in the same month. But I said that I didn't think the Timberwolves had a big chance unless Anthony Edwards went off in the playoffs, and they got Cat back. And this guy's been going off the entire playoffs. I think he's the second leading scorer behind Jalen Brunson, who averaged like 35 points. So, I mean, dude, you can't really ask much more of your young star. Anthony Edwards, definitely, he's coming with the moxie, the swag, and he's captured a lot of people's attentions. People are loving Anthony Edwards, bro. The Anthony Edwards hype train is real, and you can see that from the selections. Nobody picked the Mavericks to win. Nobody. I think it's a very, very close series. I don't think it should be a clean sweep for the T-Wolves, but this Anthony Edwards hype train right now is absolutely insane. I did see a reporter that had a stat saying most teams that go to the Western Conference Finals or go to a conference finals have to lose first before they get over that hump. And I think that's a very interesting point to be made, and something that should be paid attention to, is that this team does not have a lot of postseason success as a whole. Mike Conley, they obviously have, who has a lot of postseason success. That's their vet. And then they have a guy like Rudy Gobert, who's went on those runs with Donovan Mitchell. Outside of that, Karl Anthony Towns has been to the playoffs one more time than Anthony Edwards. Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards have only been to the finals with each other, and I think that includes Naz Reid. So I'm just not really seeing. I don't think they have as much experience as this team, as the Mavericks do. I think Luka having been to a conference finals and only losing to the champions, and then Kyrie having gone to a countless amount of conference finals. I think it was like 3 or 4, and they've both only lost to the Warriors. So I mean, I think it's great to have that experience, especially in your two lead players. But Anthony Edwards is showing that his pure heart and will is enough to beat a lot of these teams. So I think it's going to be a very, very, very interesting series. I'm very excited to see what comes out of this conference final on the Western Conference side. I think the East is probably going to be a wash, and that's why you haven't seen a video on that. I might end up making one, I might not. We'll see. I don't really think that's going to be a competitive series. But this series right here, this series right here, this is going to be a banger. This is going to be a banger. Mavs versus T-Wolves. I'll see y'all on Wednesday, bruh. Catch you on the next one.